So Cracker Barrel faces new massive backlash that they did not see coming from the mainstream media this time. That's right, the woke media out there after customers react to the company's controversial changes and shifting brand identity. Now, Cracker Barrel is facing intense backlash after its logo and years of menu changes, and the situation has become a major focus in politics and news. Now, Cracker Barrel already lost its loyal customers who feel the company abandoned its identity. Now, Cracker Barrel is also being targeted by the woke journalists out there who are simply, framing the story as part of a larger cultural battle. So, yeah, right now, Cracker Barrel finds itself at the center of a debate over branding, tradition, and even corporate strategy. So, yeah, this is all coming in from The Guardian, where they accuse Cracker Barrel of just simply, being a proxy for America's culture war and stuff. And they're saying that the new logo sparked, anger on the right. And they also have like several other articles, including like something like this one saying what the Cracker Barrel backlash shows about MAGA's influence on U.S. culture. That's funny, isn't it? I mean, because apparently like customers who are angry about this all of a sudden are MAGA and stuff. Let's just let them know, like, Democrats have a problem with this too, not just people on the right, but people on the left as well. It shows on TikTok too. So yeah, basically, as you all know, Cracker Barrel had rolled out this rebrand to modernize their image, but instead of winning over new customers, well, they simply triggered a massive backlash that's now dominating the news cycle. Now, of all places, The Guardian and other outlets and stuff are pushing the idea that Cracker Barrel actually represents some sort of dark chapter of American history, simply twisting nostalgia into a political weapon. Now, what they're really doing is trying to go ahead and rewrite the story entirely. You see, the backlash itself is not just about the design choices, it's about what Cracker Barrel actually represents. Now, for decades, the brand itself stood for simpler times, rocking chairs on the porch, checkers by the fire, and even gathering with family. That image didn't just sell food, it sold a feeling and so, but by caving to political pressure, well, Cracker Barrel undermined the very foundation of their identity. You see, the narrative from the woke outlets like The Guardian is that Cracker Barrel is part of some sort of culture war, but the truth is actually simpler. People are simply just sick of companies erasing their history to fit into a sanitized corporate checklist. In other words, they're being fake. Now, the backlash exploded because Cracker Barrel customers actually felt betrayed. Now, for decades, families went there because it felt like stepping into a piece of Americana. And now, well, the company itself has chosen to side with a branding strategy that doesn't match the product, and it showed that. You see, the new logo was the latest thing that stripped away the charm that made Cracker Barrel stand out in the first place. Before, it's the fact that they decided to cut corners and costs and just have bad tasting food and stuff, which led to like its lengthened or prolonged downfall. But this just took this basically was just the tip of the iceberg right now. So yeah, this isn't modernization, it's simply erasure. When you break the trust of your core audience, I mean, you're simply just gambling with your entire business. Now, the Guardian from England, UK, paints Cracker Barrel as some kind of cultural villain, simply framing the backlash as right-wing outrage. But the truth is, it's not political for most customers. It's actually personal. Now, people don't want their traditions mocked or even rewritten. You see, they want authenticity, and Cracker Barrel used to deliver exactly that. Woke media can't stand that, so they're using the rebrand to go ahead and turn the company into a symbol of division. It's a manufactured narrative designed to simply pit customers against each other while simply distracting from the company's actual mistake, which is simply abandoning the very identity that made Cracker Barrel successful. By trying to appease to everyone, they've managed to satisfy no one, okay? And that's unfortunate. But the irony is that Cracker Barrel has always been themed. It was never actually from the 1930s, but it embraced the look and feel of that era to create an experience. Now, that was the point. It wasn't about politics and certainly wasn't about exclusion. But now woke academics and activist groups out there are simply labeling Cracker Barrel as problematic for romanticizing the past. You see, they argue the rocking chairs and peg games represents histories of exclusion, simply twisting nostalgia into something ugly. Now, this particular campaign to shame people for enjoying tradition, it's not about, food anymore. It's about control over culture. Now, the critics want you to believe Cracker Barrel's history is too dark to celebrate. They're actually digging up old controversies like the 1991 policy that led to protests and using them as ammo in 2025 to tear down the brand. But the context matters. You see, the early 90s were a completely different era in American business, simply when companies across the country were just simply navigating cultural norms that don't exist today. Now, bringing that up now is disingenuous and is part of, a coordinated attempt to make Cracker Barrel look toxic. Now, settlements and lawsuits are being framed as proof of guilt, even though companies settle all the time to avoid drawn out PR disasters. Now, this is not about accountability. It's simply about pushing a narrative from the woke media outlets as well as woke left. Now, woke journalists are openly celebrating Cracker Barrel's struggles, turning the backlash into proof of, quote, progress that actually tells you everything you need to know about what's really happening right here. You see, the goal is not fairness or objectivity. It's simply destruction. By painting Cracker Barrel as outdated and offensive, they simply want to drive younger customers away and shame anyone who values tradition. But regular people aren't buying it. You see, the customers actually aren't angry because of some sort of political ideology. They're simply angry because a place they love is being rewritten in real time to fit someone else's political agenda. Now, that disconnect between the company's image as well as its audience is why this backlash won't die down. Now, if you actually look how the coordinated messaging has been and stuff, you're going to see how multiple outlets are repeating the same talking points, recycling the same quotes, and framing the backlash as evidence of some, quote, far-right meltdown. But the frustration is actually broader than that. You see, Cracker Barrel actually built its brand around the promise, a place where families could enjoy good food in a setting that felt timeless. Now, that promise has been broken. And as you see, people see this as yet another, example of companies simply abandoning their roots to chase trends dictated by social activists and marketing consultants. Now, the more Cracker Barrel tries to appease the woke left and the woke media, the more they alienate the very people who kept them in business for decades. Now, Cracker Barrel tried to rebrand itself into something sleek and quote, inclusive, but they're actually ending up creating an identity crisis. Customers don't see the new image as progress. They see it simply as selling out. At the same time, activists aren't even satisfied either. They're still calling the company like problematic and stuff despite the changes. Now, honestly, that's the trap of performative branding. You see, once you signal weakness, you become a permanent target. Now, Cracker Barrel is learning this the hard way right now and trying to appeal to everyone. They've invited attacks from both sides, and now they're stuck defending themselves in a fight they never needed to start. Okay, now the logo change was supposed to attract younger customers, but it's backfired tremendously and completely. Now, Cracker Barrel underestimated simply how deeply their identity was actually tied to their aesthetic. That rustic, old fashioned vibe wasn't, just decoration. That was the brand itself. And stripping it away actually felt like betrayal to its most loyal customers, especially when combined with the perception that woke politics played a role in the discussion. You see, people aren't stupid. They can tell when a company is pandering, and instead of just building loyalty, Cracker Barrel has fueled resentment. Okay. So it's not about resisting change and stuff. It's about protecting something authentic from being destroyed for the sake of corporate trends. All right. Now, this whole mess has also exposed the divide between elites in marketing and regular customers on the ground. Now, you see, I'm putting it simple. Executives think they're chasing cultural relevance, but the people who actually eat at Cracker Barrel don't want a modernized, sanitized experience. You see, they simply want the rocking chairs, the country store, and the comfort food. And they want the place to stay what it always was, a connection to something familiar and real. Now, the backlash proves that Cracker Barrel's leadership is simply completely out of touch with its base, and until they start listening and replace the board and the CEO, the damage is only going to get worse. Now, at the heart of this is just a bigger cultural battle where woke activists want to erase anything that doesn't fit their vision of history, and Cracker Barrel has become the latest target. Now, the attack isn't just on the company itself, it's on the people who value what the company represents. Traditions, symbols, and even shared experiences are being reframed as offensive, and the goal is only to make you ashamed of them. Now, this isn't accidental, it's deliberate, okay? Cracker Barrel is being used as a weapon in a broader fight over identity, and the brand's leadership itself is too busy to go ahead and is too busy chasing approval for to realize that they've walked straight into the trap itself. Now, if Cracker Barrel thinks this backlash it will blow over, well, they're wrong. The campaign against them is growing, not shrinking, because the outrage itself, the outrage machine thrives on keeping these stories alive. Every time a journalist writes another piece framing Cracker Barrel as a symbol of quote exclusion, it reinforces a narrative they want you to believe. Meanwhile, the loyal customers who built the brand itself feel ignored and abandoned. That particular disconnect can't last forever. And if the company doesn't reverse course, well, they're risking more than just a bad press. Well, they're risking, simply put, the collapse of the trust that sustained them for decades. Now, honestly, Cracker Barrel has to make a choice. Either double down on the identity that made them successful or simply just continue trying to appease critics who will never be satisfied. All right. And there's no middle ground to all of this anyway. The backlash isn't going away, and the company's silence is only making things worse. Now, customers want honesty and authenticity, not focus group slogans and rebranded logos as well as bad food. Cracker Barrel's leadership needs to decide whether they're going to protect what actually made the brand iconic or simply keep bending to pressure from activists and journalists who don't represent their core audience. Now, honestly, this is just bigger than just one company. Okay, Cracker Barrel is the latest example of what actually happens when corporations surrender to activist campaigns. Now, simply, instead of standing firm, it starts with the logo change, but ends with erasing everything that made the brand resonate in the first place. Okay, now, simply put, just bring back the old menu. The company thought they were playing it safe, but they've walked into a culture war that they can't control. And if they want to survive, they need to stop apologizing for their identity and start embracing it once again. Otherwise, the people who actually loved Cracker Barrel for what it was will simply walk away. And once they're gone, they won't be coming back. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button, share the video far and wide across social media, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell for future uploads, notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.